to the Chelmsford News Show. I'm Tom Christiano, and I'm very excited because I'm going to be talking to the new Executive Director of the Chelmsford Center for the Arts today, Lauren Cochran. And after we talk for a while, we're going to do a tour of the Chelmsford Center for the Arts, which was our old town hall here in Chelmsford, as I'm sure most of you know. So Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to finally be able to do the show. I think we've been planning this, or I have, for like 3 months. And now that we're in August, early August, I thought it'd be a good time to tape our show after the big 4th of July events and everything. And after you've been on the job for a little while, which we'll talk about how long you've been here. So before we talk specifically about the CCA, could you tell us your background in the arts or in education, all that you've done, which I know is a lot because I read your resume when you applied for the job.
Well, for the last 26 years, I was at the high school, Chelmsford High School, as the theater director. I was the first acting teacher there. I started as a guitar and piano teacher. I was a voice major in college, so I used to be able to sing all the time. And then they asked me, the coordinator at the time, Mark Kerouac, said, could you teach an acting class? And I had been doing community theater for years. Some professional theater as well, where I got paid for it, which is nice.
Wow.
And then I just built the program up at the high school, and it was fun, and we would do 3 to 5 shows a year. So I had a big following there. Also in my past, I did some marketing communications. I was marketing communications manager in business.
A local business?
I worked in Waltham, and
big
also
business
Burlington. They were startups. So I had started as a receptionist when I just had my son, and then I worked my way up to executive assistant, and then I became the marketing manager. So that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I learned an awful lot about database marketing, and at the time, software. Now I'm sort of revisiting software because I had been sort of away from it a little bit with the teaching. So then I went back into teaching and loved it once I landed.
You loved teaching 26 years?
At the high school, yeah.
Well, here in Chelmsford?
No, 1 year I taught in Somerville.
1 year there.
And then, I don't know if you remember Prep 2.5. Do you remember Prep 2? I got laid off. I was the brand new baby at 23. And then I worked at Suffolk University and I took acting classes.
Wow.
So, because when you work at a college, you can take free classes. So I took like 5 different classes in play production and acting. And then Somerville called me back and said, please come back teaching. So I did, but then I had my son and I left teaching for a little while, and then I landed it in Chelmsford.
About 20 years ago,
26 years ago.
Oh, it's actually 26 years
Yeah,
ago in
26
Chelmsford.
years. I just retired.
So you have more than that. You
Right.
have a total experience.
Yep, I had a couple in Somerville.
That's fantastic. Wow. And you taught acting and theater.
I started the acting class.
And then, I know I saw so many plays at the big 1,000 seat theater we have at the high school.
Performing Arts Center. Yeah.
Performing Arts Center. And did you teach any or direct any of those shows?
Oh, I directed most of the shows. Not last year.
Yeah.
But before that, I directed all the musicals. I did all the festival plays. I mean, the high school is an amazing experience. I built the black box theater with students. We turned an old lecture hall into a black box theater at the high school. So I hope it still stays there.
What's a black box
It's a
theater?
smaller venue to do performances. It's about 100. So you can do smaller things as well.
And you've done that too? Was that at the high school?
At the high school, yeah. We turned an old lecture hall. One summer, the kids and I, and my technical director at the time was Craig Robertson, and we spent the whole summer renovating the room ourselves. We got permission from the school committee.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I know Craig as well.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine on Facebook, as are you.
Right.
And wow, that's wonderful. And you mentioned, I think, that you taught guitar and
I
singing.
taught at the high school. I've taught guitar, advanced guitar, and I've taught a triple threat class once. I taught.
What's a triple threat?
It was a singing, dancing, and an acting class. At one time, we had a triple threat class, which was great. And then we did an improvisation class in advanced acting as well. So the curriculum changes every year depending on the new coordinator or what they see. There's a lot of digital photography classes there now, which definitely had an impact. There's like 15 digital photography classes there. So it had an impact.
15?
Yeah, 15. Yeah, it's interesting.
That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot.
One
What
subject.
happened is I think a lot of 8th graders were like, oh, I'll take photography, it's a little safer, which is great.
Oh,
But
yes.
it affects the other electives.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But there's
Wow.
still an acting class going on now. It's going to be taught by someone else. So.
Oh, my God. And you left the Chelmsford school system retired about
June.
sometime this year, June of this year.
Yeah.
We're in August now,
Right.
so it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you started here as the Chelmsford Center for the Arts as the executive director.
Right.
And as I mentioned, I read your resume, and because it was a public application, you might say, and I was so impressed with it. I contacted the town manager and said, Lauren sounds fantastic. I think we should hire her, or whatever. But it was wonderful. It seemed like you were the right person for this job. And so far, hopefully you'll agree, I think you're the right person for this job.
It's timing too. The timing happened to be right this time around.
Yeah.
It wasn't a couple of years ago after Susan. I couldn't have done it. I was still, involved in the theater there. But it was the right timing, I guess.
Yeah, and then you came on board. What date did you come on board?
Well, I started the very end of April. So sort of, I was sort of, Paul said, could you start? And it was good. So I did a couple of months before getting salaried. So it was a little tricky with 2 jobs because I was still finishing my teaching career, and I was also president of the teachers union for 4 years.
Really?
Yes. So Jay Lang and I somehow managed to really get along, which is great. So we have
Oh,
a nice relationship.
the school superintendent?
Yeah, Dr. Lang, he's a nice guy.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was very interesting. But so it was very good though. The 2 months was really a little bit doing 2 jobs at the same time was a little bit stressful.
Yeah.
So now I can dedicate it fully here, which is awesome. But I still have a great relationship with the high school.
Oh,
It's a wonderful, and the school system, it's very good. Because I want to bring more kids in here too.
Yes, we'll talk about that. Maybe all the volunteer opportunities and all the things that you're doing here at the CCA. And we have a lot to talk about. So we'll have a lot of fun, hopefully, to continue this conversation. So you recently started, like a month or 2 ago, whatever, as a full-time.
Right.
Or you're actually working part-time.
Right,
Like
technically. 20 to 25 hours a week,
yeah.
because technically I have a pension, and Massachusetts wants you only to make a certain amount, work a certain amount of hours in order to get your teacher pension.
Oh, I see.
It's very crazy. There's only 10
Yes,
states that it does this. I know.
But it's good for you though, because it is good that you have enough time off now that you've left 26 or more years teaching. That you have some time to enjoy your family and the world at large and everything.
I love to
that's-
travel, so
And travel,
big
yeah.
travel, yeah.
So it'd be wonderful. So, how do you like the position so far? Is it?
It's wonderful. It's challenging, and there's things that I never had to deal with before, like cleaning companies, and sort of the business of maintaining a building, which is great. Like there was a little bit of a thing in the kitchen, and Chief Ryan called me. He's like, Lauren, what happened? I guess the cleaners had poured water down and short-circuited something. So it's very fun. I've been in charge of the building before, so I like that though, because it's really good for your brain to learn new things. Also, today I did all the invoices and paid the employees and those things that I really never had to do before. But I'm learning, so I'm always at town hall every 2 weeks to do the pay vouchers and payroll and invoices and keeping the finances.
And you have to do that at the town hall?
Well, no, I have to bring it over to the town hall.
Over the town hall?
Yeah, so those are the tiny, nitty-gritty things that people don't realize that you have to do here as well, because you're maintaining a business to a point.
Yes, yes.
Right, the fun stuff is trying to come up with the creative ideas to get the community involved.
Yes, and so not only are you an employee here at the CCA, but you have an assistant technical person?
Technical director, yes. Dan was hired under Susan Gates, and we also worked with Lexi. And Dan's great. We're kind of getting, because there's only the 2 of us, we're sort of like, you're getting to know each other a little bit. And I'm sort of a workaholic. I mean, I say, I'm only supposed to work 25 hours a week, because it's not in my nature. I'm a worker. And so Dan and I are sort of just bringing a lot of things in town. We're saving a lot too. We're helping, we're bringing things in-house. For example, there was a marketing person in Tennessee. We decided to take over the website ourselves to save money. And also because you're constantly updating it. So he's been learning the software for that, as have I. So we've been sort of growing and working together. that sort of thing.
Is
Yeah.
he responsible for the website?
He and I both are doing the
Both
website.
of you?
He's a little bit, he's younger, he's in his 30s, so he's a little faster at it, but I just bought a book on how to do it, so I've been playing with it as well, and so
Do you
we're
have all
updating.
the events listed on the website?
We do, we have many events, yes. We just
Oh,
started our classes, so now our art classes are all getting on it as well, under classes, so we're trying to make it as user-friendly as we can, so we'll, occasionally I might say, Tom, go check out the website, what's not intuitive to you.
Yes.
Because I used to work in software as well, so
Yes, yeah.
I understand you need to have a good intuitive interface.
Yes,
You know.
and I'm glad it's done here locally, so.
Yeah, it's much
You could-
better, because it was a wonderful person that used to run it
Yes.
apparently, but you don't have that communication
Yes.
as fast,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's probably a lot less expensive too to do it ourselves.
Well,
right?
because we're just so
We're
we
paid.
get paid, right, so we saved a lot of money.
And people could buy tickets online?
Yes,
too,
they
at the
can now.
website?
Yeah, they're lining it up with, Dan has done a little link to Square, so we use Square now, which lists all the events and who's been, and we do a lot of invoicing now on Square. Because we are renting this place a lot now.
Good, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about. So can people pay by credit card
Yep,
too?
yep.
Oh, good, so I
Which
would
is
say
great.
Visa
Yep.
credit cards, oh, that's
Yeah, and we have
wonderful.
Square, and even when you come to the door, we have the little Square machine, and Susan had started that. And so you take your credit cards, just like.
Oh, when you get credit card, oh, great.
Yeah, so it's really good.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, and could you say what the address is for the website? Is it?
Sure, it's
Chelmsford-
ChelmsfordArts.org.
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 ChelmsfordArts.org for the go to the website, thank you.
Yeah.
But we might talk about more of that later. So let's see what else we have. So that for the paid workers right now, it's you and Dan.
Dan.
But are you thinking of hiring another person? Oh, you have a couple of
We have a
4-hour
couple of
students,
high
right?
school students,
Yeah.
and we do have, we're talking about it. Paul Cohen, who's the town manager, did say, if we want this place up and running all the time, which we do, that's my goal, is to make every room filled with art and music and theater. We would need somebody else, because it's Dan will be working, he works weekends. If there's an event and there are a rental, he's there. There was a baby shower last Saturday in this very room, and Dan was
really?
here for 6 hours, we can't leave them to
Yeah.
it, right?
So somebody has to be here in the
Right,
building.
exactly, so.
6 hours.
Well, they set up, it's a
Oh, yeah,
3 to
I
4 hour event, but they like to set up and they like to close down, so. There was a memorial service last week down at the cabaret.
There was?
Yep, on Wednesdays we rented to a business networking organization, so every morning, I was here at 6:30 this morning, as I told you. So the great news is, I believe in renting and having use as well as community events. Because you try to maintain the building, it's such a beautiful building.
Yes.
And you want it to be self-sustaining. Can we get there? We'll see, right,
Well, that's why I'm so glad you're renting for different rooms and groups and
Yeah.
organizations
That's
and
a beautiful
functions.
place.
Maybe some people might want to rent the upstairs for a wedding or a big 25th anniversary or whatever.
Right.
So we'll talk about that later too, because that'll help bring in the money
Correct.
to help sustain this. And that was my next question. Who provides the funding for the Chelmsford Center for the Arts?
Well, that's very interesting because I think it has varied. I think Susan Gates did a lot of, funding and fundraisers when they were renovating the building. She was the director for 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And Lexi had also formed a friends group which can do fundraising, because I can't do any fundraising because we're not for profit, but we're for profit. We're in this little very strange thing. So as far as maintaining, there was some ARPA funds, which actually paid for, I think, Dan and Lexi Lattimore's salary. Lexi was an alumni of mine, so I have affection for her very much as well. And now there's another money put aside for the next couple of years. But, ultimately you want to be as self-sustaining, or at least show the community the benefits of this place.
Oh, yes, and
That's right.
with all that you're going to rent, you have been renting, but you will be renting, hopefully more. If anybody wants to rent a room for wedding, anniversary, a group, a meeting, please contact the Chelmsford Center for the Arts and Lauren.
And they can fill out a form. There's a rental form.
Rental
If you
form.
go to ChelmsfordArts.org, the rental prices are all there now, with photos of the rooms, and you can fill out a form.
I love that because that wasn't always the case on the Chelmsford Center for the Arts, and I think that was so important to get the prices to rent the rooms there.
Our prices are very reasonable, probably too reasonable right now compared to it. But you know what? It's a community service as well. It's a beautiful building.
Yes.
So it's very exciting.
And then later, if you find that we need a little more money, you could raise the rents a little bit each year.
Right. And you want to be conscious of that as well.
Yes,
So because, you know.
It's inflation or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure people would mind 5% each year or something like that, especially if we need the money to pay for the building and maintenance, et cetera, and salaries.
I mean, luckily, you know, I think Paul Code was more about, you know, it's a community building too. He wants to see it have events for the community as well.
Oh, yes, which we are. I'm sure you will. In fact, we're in the gallery room now, and you'll be having hopefully different artists or whatever coming in, displaying their work, and then we'll have opening receptions, and other things in this room. But I think it'd be great to, like, for 2 artists at a time, to share.
Great idea.
For 1 month at a time, just 1 month, and then you have a changing, and you get people maybe in the habit of coming over here, looking at the art. And then looking at the other, like Trina Teal is one of your
she's wonderful.
We'll talk to them.
We have some new art classes starting. Diane Cochran from the high school, who is an art teacher, is going to be teaching seasonal crafting here. Wonderful. And also Lisa Magnus is going to be teaching it. I'm going to be teaching an acting class as well as a friend of mine who's an actress.
Really?
She'll be teaching acting as well.
Wonderful.
And that will be at night. So those things, look for them. They're coming. You know, so some of them are on the website right now, and we're adding.
Yes, it's fantastic. I think all these things that are here and coming up at the Chelmsford Center of the Arts.
Absolutely.
And the board of directors here, could I ask how many people are on the board of directors?
You know, it's called an advisory board. So
is that called
no, it's not called. There's no board of directors as far as I know. So it's a CCA advisory board that is sort of the town.
Oh, the town.
And Mike Rainey is on it. Kelly Dunn is on it. Beth Bellamy. Barbara Riley. So there's a few people. We've only had one meeting, and they sort of had a shutdown for the summer. So we're meeting again in September. And so basically, they're there to like help with ideas or that sort of thing right now. There also is a new group called the Friends of the CCA.
Yes.
And Sharice Lattimore is on that, and a few other people. And I just met with Sharice last week, and they've added a few events that they would like to do for fundraising. So that can be the fundraising arm of it. Yes. So there's no, quote, board of directors per se.
Do you meet with that committee though?
I've met with them twice now, actually.
When they do meet though, I mean, you'd be attending every meeting,
absolutely.
right?
I already met with them twice.
You could talk about the ideas right there.
Right, absolutely.
The next meeting is in September.
Right.
So do they have enough people on that?
I'm sure they could probably use a little more.
So if anybody's interested, contact the town manager.
Absolutely, right.
Or Laura.
Right, and what I need more than anything is volunteers.
Volunteers.
You know, it's like, I kind of have a handle on the things I want to do or what should be done, I think, in here. And I always I ask you for your advice before. Because I want town input. But we need, you know, people to help. I had a volunteer meeting, 12 people came. In that time, I contacted them. 4 people actually came to help do things. 6 sort of didn't, after the initial meeting, I would put out and say, okay, this is what we're doing. But I have this wonderful person I met, Linda, who has been volunteering regularly. She's fabulous. So I'll probably put another call out in the fall for volunteers because we have so much happen.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
They will get a benefit of knowing they're helping the arts community and the entire community by volunteering. You will get the benefit of their efforts, but we don't have to pay them, which is nice.
Right. I mean, and sometimes it's nice to pay too. Right. I mean, you know, it's like you feel bad sometimes because they're doing it because it's fun too. So I want to make it fun. I mean, they're not the type of labor, but also a couple groups have organized us with kids. We've had kids in to help a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, you know, less organized. We have another group coming in tomorrow. So that's, but you know, there are groups in the summer that are looking for places to do some volunteer work. So.
Wonderful. Wow. Yeah. And the volunteers, so you can always use more volunteers, you said,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And they could contact you. Do you have a link? If they go to the website, is there a link to contact you?
Yes.
So people could go to chelmsfordarts.org and then look for the contact menu item and then put in your idea if you'd like to volunteer, for example.
And there's also right at the very beginning of the website to subscribe to the newsletter, which we have a volunteer doing the newsletter.
Oh, and I did put in my email address.
Yes, I hope you received it.
I don't remember receiving the.
Okay, we'll have to check. It's
How
called
long
Arts
has
in
it been
Action.
sending them out?
Once a week.
See, that's terrible because I know I signed up, but could you check?
I will check, right, I will check, because what would happen is, it's run by Kylie, who is a volunteer, and we come and she comes and transfers it over from where it goes on the website. So we'll make sure of that. I'm starting to build a more database as well. We're building a bigger database.
Yeah.
Let me know if you haven't gotten it yet. I'll do it again next week.
Yeah, I don't think so. Hopefully I'll remember checking another week or two and let you know.
Yes, good.
Because I definitely did that, filled that out. I think a few times, but. So the rental costs, those are on the website, right? ChelmsfordArts.org.
Right.
If somebody's interested in renting a room, any of the rooms here, pretty much at the CCA, you could go there and find the rental prices, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's right under rentals. The button says rentals.
Yeah, fantastic. By the way, I hope I'm not in shadow here, but we'll see later on.
Sorry.
That's what I'm looking. But I do have the hat on because you know me, I have to have the hat on, whatever. No, I don't mind not having that, but whatever. So the rental costs are there. The hours the CCA is open to the public.
When Dan is on vacation right now, and he and I have discussed sort of having set hours. I mean, it's a little difficult because we're weekends or different events, somebody has to have coverage. So I will be posting probably my set hours, which, for example, on Wednesdays, it's been 6:30. It's very early. Mondays, I'm usually at 10 to 3. So I think eventually I'll make it so that there are set hours between Dan and I, so you'll know the building is open.
Right. And that way they can go in where the parking lot is, the door there. If somebody's here.
Right. Well, if they want a tour, we usually like to pre-arrange that.
Oh, yes.
You know, because often like we're here alone, if there's not an event going on. And,
so is the door open down there when you?
the door is open as long as we know there's an event or something's happening.
Oh, as long as there's an event, but if there's not, is there a bell or something that?
Well, we're changing, this is very interesting, we're changing to September so that I'll be controlling the door from my cell phone with a little fob. Because right now there was like hundreds of keys that were out and nobody knows who has all the keys.
So you're changing the
So
locks, right?
it's going to be a changed system, more like town hall, just
And
for
then-
safety as well. You know?
Is there a bell to ring at the front or back door?
No, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, because otherwise
Yeah, how would you know?
people
if
could be
someone's out
banging
there?
and you could be in an office somewhere
Right,
and they cannot
exactly.
hear them.
Exactly, and the office is up here. So it'd be
Yeah.
wiser if people came on the front entrance,
Okay,
because
the front.
my office now is on the front door.
Which will tour the building pretty
Right.
soon, in a few minutes. So could you think about that bell idea? Because
It's a good idea.
say if you're
Talk to
working,
them, yeah.
and maybe you could have an intercom there too, so you could talk to the person.
That's another great idea.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
like-
I've asked you for your ideas.
Yeah,
That's very
it's
good.
like,
Yeah.
you know, why are you here and that kind of thing.
Right,
Make
should
sure
I
that
help you?
they have a legitimate reason and they just
Right.
want to talk to you or something.
Because you do get some, you know, one time somebody just screamed in the building, and Trina and I were here by ourselves, and it turns out it was a kid that sort of had opened a door and screamed and ran away, but it was a little bit unnerving.
Yes,
So it's like, when you say, it's like, oh, you have to be a little
Yeah.
careful as well, especially if we're closing up after an event, you know, we're here until whatever, 11 at night, or sometimes
Yes.
midnight,
Yes.
and you want to make sure, you know, there's security too, so it's a little tricky.
Sounds good. So I think with the doorbell idea, both doors and
Great
video.
idea.
Well, it could be a video too. If you
Yeah,
what
those
kind
rings,
Nancy,
right?
yeah.
Those rings.
Be the ring camera. That way you could see the person well, which would be great. It probably wouldn't be that expensive either. And Dan is a technical person, so he might not have. I have about 6 cameras outside my own home, even though it's mostly for animals.
Right.
I just posted a couple of deer this morning
Yeah.
that came by my house. But in the last couple of minutes, a few minutes, why don't we talk about the upcoming events?
That's
You
wonderful.
have some flyers here.
I do.
What's your next event, do you know?
The next event, well, this Friday night, we have team trivia again. We have a team advisory board,
Yeah.
which I started. But teams in the summer are very busy people, so it's been a little hard to get them all together. Everyone goes on vacation. But they've set some of their own agendas that they would like to do. Team trivia, they want to do a family feud night. They want to do a murder mystery. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still trying to capture that age group as well, you know.
Which is like 13 to 18?
13 to 17, 13 to
17,
18, yes,
yeah.
exactly. We've been offering voice lessons in arts education, exploring your voice. So, you know, they're not really filling up as well because I think summertime we found out it was a little bit tough.
Are you going to be teaching those? or
No,
something?
Susan Davies is
Susan
an alumni who's
Davies.
fantastic. But
And
now
they
for-
can find that too on the website.
Right.